So now that we've talked about notes going up and down, the bass clef and the treble clef, all of them being joined by our home bass C. You can really put notes into their place. C, B, C, D. It's the easiest way. You can go up, C, D, E, F, G, or you can go C, B, A, G, F. Kind of like that. Easiest way spatially to kind of remember this, and you can go from there. Or you can think do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. This is C again, right? If you think about the note names again. So, I'll write them out for you to make it easier. F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F on the line, G on the space, A, B, C, you're in treble clef, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, keep it on note, D, E, F, G, all the way up there. So those are all the notes. And I just sang all the notes for you, so you have an idea of what they sound like. You can go back and repeat that and listen to me have some fun voice moments there. Let's now talk about raising and lowering pitches. Now that we have all of this established. So, when we raise a pitch, say you're playing the note C on piano. So, what's the note that's right next to C? It would be C sharp. Not a hashtag, a sharp. When we raise a pitch by a half step, it's a sharp. Now, the note next to C would actually, well, we could write it as C flat. And flat is what lowers the pitch. Flat makes it lower, right? So sharps make it higher, flats make it lower. Now, we're going to talk about different ways of writing the same note. That's called an enharmonic. An enharmonic sounds the exact same way. So a C flat would actually also be a B. A C sharp could also be a D flat. There are different ways, we'll talk about this when we talk more about this, of ways to see when notes are higher and when notes are lower. Let's go back to our original systems. Of course, we have Roman numerals. When you see a Roman numeral and it is nice and big, usually this refers to it being major or happy sounding. Then, when we see a Roman numeral looking like lowercase, that's considered minor, in a sad kind of tone, right? So, major, minor. We're going to talk about that when we talk about chords as well. So, keep this in mind. This is going to be very important to identifying things. And we're also going to expand on solfege really quick. So you already know do, in our instance, can be any note. This applies to every scale. You can just use it with everything. So do, lowered, or raised, can sound like D. So that's the pitch that's like right next to it. Then you have re, and if you lower re, it becomes ra. When you have mi, it can become me when you lower it. So obviously visually you can see what is lowered and what is raised. So re can be raised to re. Mi can be lowered to me. Fa is its own thing. No real emotion there until you get to fi. So then you have fa and fi, which raises it, and then you have se below that once you get to sol, When you lower sol, it becomes say. When you raise sol, it becomes si. When you have la, you lower it, it becomes lay. When you raise it, it becomes li. And then you have ti, which, if you lower it, becomes te. And then you come all the way back to do. And it repeats, and repeats, and repeats. This is a way to kind of visually see things. So now that we've established our systems of reading notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Those are 2 ways we can read notes. We are going to be using both systems in this class. Let's talk about a scale. What is a scale? Well, a scale is a series of notes going up or down. And there is going to be something called a key signature, which establishes what note we start on. So, say we have a clef here. 5 lines, 4 spaces. And we'll be reading treble clef. Okay, so a C major scale would be written C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C on the line. Or B on the line, C in the space. So you can visually see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 1. It's a series of notes, right? Well, there's also a series of what we call steps in between each note. Let me elaborate on that. So we have half steps and whole steps. And there, math folks, you're going to love this. There is a formula to all of this to understand the relationships here. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. These are the notes that can apply to every scale. So C to D is a whole step. D to E is a whole step. E to F is a half step. F to G is a whole step. G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step, but B to C is a half step. So let's talk about steps really quickly. So we have in scales whole steps and half steps. This applies to every key you can put a scale in. Now a key is what's going to determine what's the first note in that scale. So of course we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Any one of those notes, or C sharp, B, A, the rest, everything else can be considered our starting point in the key signature. We'll talk about this in a future video. But back to our concept of steps, we can apply this to any key, any given key. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 as our notes, right? C, D, F. I wrote a B. So you have our notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? These make up our notes in a C major scale. So, of course we have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and do. So, there is a formula, math people, you're going to love it. Between do and re, that is a whole step. Re to mi, that is a whole step. Mi to fa is a half step. Fa to sol, that is a whole step. Sol to la is a whole step. La to ti is a whole step. Ti to do is a half step. So 1 to 2 is a whole step. 2 to 3 is a whole step. 3 to 4 is a half step. 4 to 5 is a whole step. 5 to 6 is a whole step. 6 to 7 is a whole step. 7 back to 1 is a half step. So whole, whole, half, whole, half is the formula to everything. So if you wanted to do a different scale, let's say we start on F. So this is a little bit getting into the concept a little bit. So well, first we'll play that on piano. Secondly, we'll look at what it would be like to start on F. So if we started on F, F to G, that's a whole step. G to A, no, G, A, that's a whole step. A to B flat, that is a half step. B flat to C, that's a whole step. C to D, that's a whole step. D to E, that's a whole step. E to F is a half step. Let's look at this on the piano. So let's just review our systems really quickly on being able to understand what things sound like. C is always our home bass, as I've established before. So in a scale, we have what's called half steps and whole steps. So this note's a C to a D is a whole step. D to E is also a whole step. E to F, hear that crunchiness? Is a half step. F to G is a whole step. G to A, also a whole step. A to B is a whole step. B to C, back to the beginning note, is a half step. You hear the crunchiness? Any half step. Those are half steps. Those are all whole steps. So these are half steps. And these are whole steps. So you can really tell the difference because half steps are crunchy, but whole steps are a little bit less crunchy. We can describe these as dissonance and consonance. Dissonance is when you hear something that's just a little clashy. Consonance is when you hear something that's just a little bit better, more neutral sounding.